Hey everybody, I hope you are all well. It's me, Ben Putley, the CEO of Alkimi. It's my pleasure today to be joined by Chandru for what is our update on H1. So there's quite a lot to cover. We've got some cool stuff to get through, some great updates. I think we're using a streaming platform, so I can't see everyone joining, but I think we'll give it a few minutes just to let some people join, and then we'll get things going at perhaps 4 minutes past the hour, because I don't want people to miss what we've been doing.
Hello. I hope you're all doing well, enjoying the good weather. It's been beautiful weather out here in London, so for change.
It has been, yeah. And I think we hope that there won't be any sirens or loud motorbikes that drive past our office, but that tends to be the way. So I do apologize in advance if there are any loud sirens or motorbikes. We've just come off a previous call, and it seemed to be every time Chandru was talking, some sirens went off, to great amusement of the people on the other side of the call. But yeah, fingers crossed that doesn't happen. Now that I've said it, it inevitably will. We're getting close to rush hour, so I apologize to your eardrums in advance. You just have to listen to me, which is bad enough, but let alone the sirens. I think let's just get going. We wanted to spend some time this afternoon to give you an update on what we've been up to, where we've been to, some product developments, and then kind of talk you through what the second half of the year will look like. I think where I would like to start, and then Chandru, maybe I'll throw it over to you to talk about India, and then we can both talk about Chorley's trip back to Cannes. I unfortunately couldn't get 2 weeks in Cannes signed off by my wife and new daughter, much, even though I tried. So it was the end of June. There is the annual Cannes Lions conference. Now, this, I'm reliably informed by the local taxi drivers, is the largest conference that Cannes hosts, even larger than the film conference. And it's around about 400,000 executives, teams, companies from not just the ad tech industry, so where Alkimi sits, but all the way through from production to creative agencies to broadcasters. There are varying degrees of beaches and yachts and hip hop artists. I mean, Cardi B performed at Spotify's party this year, which I thought was crazy. I was at Free Wheels Beach. They had Ludacris, so not quite as cool, but 15-year-old me was quite happy about seeing Ludacris live. Although he was quite surprised that I think he'd assumed that everyone was going to be French in the audience, and was quite shocked when they all turned out to be American. Perhaps he hadn't got the memo on the conference itself. But it's always been a great yardstick for us, just to see how we are progressing as a business, kind of the notoriety of Alkimi within ad tech, the types of meetings that I get to have, the types of people that I get to speak to, and more importantly, the kind of conversations that we're having with those individuals. And I think this, for me, was, again, better and bigger than last year. People knew Alkimi. More people than I anticipated knew Alkimi. I think our marketing team does a brilliant job of content across the various platforms. So that is now really starting to pay off. I was meeting with brands, with media agencies, with broadcasters, with publishers, with technology providers, really talking about work that we do with some of them, work that we'd like to do with some of them, the technology that underpins Alkimi, and where we think the future of that technology might be going. I think the two particularly interesting conversations, one with a chap that worked at Anthropic and one that worked at NVIDIA. And I was surprised to some degree that they were kind of underwhelmed at the utilization of AI by ad tech businesses. I think to some degree, this was from the chat from NVIDIA, that he thought because ad tech for a period of time had spent a lot of time on machine learning and trying to optimize the targeting to the nth degree, that many businesses in ad tech kind of thought they had that box checked for quite a long time. I think that presents some very interesting opportunities, which we will talk about later in this call, on kind of increasing the velocity of our sales in market, capturing more ad dollars, and providing efficiencies just outside of targeting parameters. And there's our first beep. Outside of the parameters and the focus areas that the mainstream of ad tech has really been focusing on. So Cam was great. There was some great meetings, some exciting conversations that have followed up off the back of that. I then came home for 2 days, and then Chandru and I swiftly turned around and headed off to India to see our team of developers over there, the engine room of Alkimi, really. So Chandru, I don't know if you want to talk about what we did there, the value of it.
Absolutely, Ben. It's a follow-on to what you've been saying about Cannes, because what I've seen from my solo trip to, the only trip to Cannes is the kind of opulence, the kind of money that is in advertising, and the size of the companies that there are. And in spite of all of the money and the funding that there is in advertising, which is probably one of the best funded industries, it is a reluctance to try and embrace the latest in technology.
Yeah.
With a couple of years back, 3 years back, it was blockchain, and now it is AI.
Yeah.
And it's funny you should bring this up, because while those conversations with Anthropic have been happening for quite a long time by Alkimi, it's a little underwhelming, as you say, to see that it's not being embraced by the ad tech industry in a way it should have been. So it is positive in a way for us, because we are having those conversations. We are looking at how we can use AI. We've already spoken about the DSA, and we will go into more detail about the DSA, but how we can use the advancements in AI and how we can actually leverage its power in delivering more value. So how do we go beyond what we've been talking about, just transparency, auditability, low transaction fees, and how we move forward from there, how we use and leverage the technology in order to resolve more problems. And that is what this trip to Bangalore was all about, because we've seen the power of AI. We are using AI within Alkimi in 3 speeds, right? The first is where we've been speaking to OpenAI, Anthropic, and using all their tools in order to make our lives easier within the company. Like, for example, how do we then generate a document? How do we get to a first cut of a document? How do we leverage all of these tools to make our lives easier, ensure that we take meeting notes, ensure we follow up on our actions? All of that is speed one, the first gear. The second gear is where we are able to integrate these models within our technology. Like, for example, how do we use MCP servers that are available in the market? How do we integrate them with our work? How do we ensure that we are able to leverage all of the available third-party MCP servers and the like is gear 2, the second speed. But the third speed is where we develop our own MCP servers, our own model, train the models, build our own chatbots, generate technology, which will then make a difference to ad tech industry. And that is where I think there is a lack of work that is currently happening, at least in the ad tech industry, where we stand to make a difference.
Certainly, yeah.
And that trip to Bangalore was all about how do we make sure we equip all of our staff, all of our developers, testers, DevOps engineers, penetration testers, whoever they are, with the right kind of tools to make sure that they get the maximum out of their own time, develop tools, develop models and MCP servers that can then be integrated into not only our products, but to generally resolve all the problems in the ad tech industry. That was one of the key goals of our trip to Bangalore this time.
Yeah, and I think that I'm always hesitant to talk about AI because there is a lot of fluff, a lot of buzz. There's a lot of people that talk about the ways that they're using it. And I wanted to find out myself, like, how much are people using it? I think particularly in ad tech, but then also just AI companies, and there is something to be said. I kind of mentioned this briefly about kind of optimizing the bit that happens from the buyer into the seller. The can you target a campaign slightly better? Can you improve a click-through rate? Can you improve a acquisition, a video completion rate, the various metrics by which we are judged for campaigns that we run. And to some degree, it's important to do that. It's not something that we're not doing. But the performance of a particular ad campaign is often has a ceiling based off of that particular format. And a lot of the brands that we work with have a benchmark that they want to hit for that particular format, for that particular marketing goal for a campaign. And more often than not, if you beat it, it doesn't always equate to more money. It can equate to 2 thumbs up and a pat on the back and saying, well done, that's great. You beat our benchmarks by 20%. Congratulations. Here's the same amount of money that we were going to give you anyway. And what I believe is that the real gains that can be made are automating things and processes and operations that sit outside of the actual auction itself. I think the way we think about it is that there is, to some degree, and we've spoken about this, like the ad market is cyclical. And now I think that is certainly true. There's some brands that spend more money in Q4 and some brands that spend more money in Q1, but ultimately brands are spending money throughout the year. I think now, in our experience, the cyclical nature of those campaigns can really be boiled down to like the cyclical nature of an individual's calendar and activities that drive sales. So if you think that a seller books a meeting, attends the meeting, completes the work from the back of that meeting, and during the time they're completing that work, it is important, but they're no longer out meeting people, getting more briefs. So that kind of seasonality that you would see, the up and downs that you might see in the ad spend, can be attributed to some degree to the cyclical nature of those individual calendars. So what we've been able to do already, and there's still more to come here, but the outreach that we're doing now is predominantly automated. We actually had a seller that was surprised at the quality of the email that had been written because it was better than one that he may have written. And actually that yielded a meeting with a new brand. So like immediately was proving results on the capacity for us to get through the multiple emails that are required without there being kind of life getting in the way and that process being missed, and then lead time being added to that process to increase the spend that we start to see through the pipes. The responses to briefs were historically taking us 4 days. They now take us 15 minutes, and that is 1 minute of creation from a tool and then 14 minutes of humans checking that to make sure that it is as it needs to be and then having an impact where they make a difference. The trafficking and optimization of campaigns is now being automated, and then post-campaign analysis is just the inverse of the media plans that we create, albeit now with actual data, can now be automated too. Now, the goal of this is just to increase the velocity of our sales team in market to make up for perhaps what we've seen with revenue stagnating to some degree over the last 6 months or so. That is been a gripe for all of you on this call, and rest assured, it is the largest gripe that I have myself. Like, I am the person that wants to see that number go up and to the right more than anyone else. Maybe Chandru, maybe Chorley join me as joint first on that. That is really top of mind for us, is addressing that issue. And really, we wanted to take some time to understand systematically, with the tools that are now available, how can we create a system for enterprises that is able to increase sales velocity, reduce human error, optimize performance of campaigns, and then provide valuable insights to people that have bought across Alkimi. So again, there is a lot of thinking that goes into that. There's a lot of planning that goes into that. And then there's a lot of execution required to make sure that happens correctly. And really, Chandru and I wanted to spend some time in India to really break down the barriers that some people may have when it comes to automation tools in the workplace. I think that there's two responses typically. You have people that really lean in quite hard, at least that's what we've seen in the usage of the platforms. And there's some people that are perhaps a little bit nervous and think to some degree, well, am I going to lose my job because of AI and automation? And I think that my honest opinion is if you don't use the tools, yes, you will. You're pretty much doomed, in my opinion. They are going to be as impactful as the mouse and the keyboard and the mobile phone. Like, we are kind of on the precipice of that kind of technology. I mean, stuff that I'm saying now will probably be out of date by the time this stream finishes. Is that such the rate at which these tools are being improved and developed and released into market? It's actually exhausting to try and keep up with the improvements there. But really, we wanted to pose the question to the entire team that was, what if 100% of your day or your work is automated? Like, what does that allow you to do? And the answer to that is to think more strategically, to work with more people in the business, to think laterally about problems that we might have solved one way, given, and there's our fire siren, given the potential for these tools, like the ability for us to ship products quicker with fewer mistakes, with more robust code bases and unit testing. QA really is phenomenal. So yeah, that has been majorly impactful, I think, for us as a business, for what we're able to develop product wise, and really for, I guess, the future of technology. And then I will take us from India back to Cannes again. Chorley spent a week in Cannes on the crypto side of the Croisette, and spent a lot of time kind of doing two things. One, speaking to some of the partners that we work with as far as like the nuts and bolts of like running a crypto operation. So exchanges, market makers, the people that help support crypto. But then also we have a growing number now of brands, crypto brands, blockchain companies, however you want to call them, that are starting to mature in the way that they think about their marketing. Like, I'm sure you will all have seen a Web3 logo on a Formula One car or a football team, and then you will all have certainly seen KOLs and messaging on social platforms for various exchanges, blockchain companies. They kind of have been the two dominant forms of advertising that we've seen. So endorsements, if you want to call them that, partnerships, and then performance-based advertising. Now, what we've seen with the brands in crypto that we've been working with, and there are some quite large brands, is the types of people in those businesses is changing. They're perhaps people that have worked in media agencies in the past, that have experience and an established understanding of the importance of display, of video, of connected TV in creating a congruent and complete marketing funnel from your endorsements down to your performance advertising, and ads online have a significant role to play in that. We've been talking to a number of crypto publishers, both here in London, and then also Chorley met them in Cannes, on helping them understand the opportunity of creating a monetization stack across their various profiles. So that kind of aggregated access to crypto sites, which isn't easy to do today, hasn't been easy to do in the past, is now getting much easier to do with Alkimi, provides these large blockchain brands with a highly relevant audience that allows them to target current crypto customers, future crypto customers, in a way that fits with the rest of their marketing strategy, in a way that has been pleasantly surprising to me, certainly, at the drive to use what we specialize in. So yeah, there have been some great conversations that have been ongoing that Chorley had in Cannes and that continue to progress through the sellers, through us, really across the business. So that's enough of our travel. It's quite a lot to date. Hopefully not much more. I'm quite tired.
Do you want to maybe talk about the DSA demos at Cannes?
Yes, yeah. I do. Let's talk about that. So this was I'm trying to think of the word, a cross-conference demo, which was quite cool. We were able to demo the DSA to Web 2 platforms and then also Web 3 platforms. And I think, I would say 8, 9, or 10 months ago, we identified the opportunity for the creation of campaigns using natural language, given our own experiments with the tools that were available. We built that into what is called the demand side agent. We have been heavily using that for our own campaigns that we run to provide operational efficiencies to the way that we buy the media across our exchange. But now we're in a position to start showing ad buyers that wanted to run self-serve campaigns the potential for that. And really, it is demonstrating what is possible, the time savings that can be achieved, like through various interviews that we've done with customers and understanding their pain points. Up to 70% of a week might be spent pulling and aggregating reports from various platforms that buyers are using to buy their different audiences, that sellers are using to monetize their various websites. And I think it was in November where the model context protocol existed in earnest, which really accelerated our thinking as far as the DSA is concerned. So the DSA shows what's possible buying Alkimi inventory. MCPs showed us what was possible to solve some of the issues that we've had with existing partners that should have integrated us, that perhaps haven't, some definitely haven't integrated us, which has been a bit of a bottleneck for clients that we've worked with that want to work with us more, that can't do so through their preferred platform. Now, what an MCP allows for you to do is, rather than integrate into those platforms, it allows the DSA to evolve into a complete media buying platform that allows buyers to buy across any other platform that they might be using through the natural language tools that we were created in the DSA. That allows us to, not only through the automation of tools and the velocity of speed into market, to unlock direct spend across the exchange, but actually capture spend that might be on alternative platforms through the Alkimi media buying platform that fuels protocol fees across larger budgets that perhaps wouldn't have been 100% spent on Alkimi. Like there's multiple platforms that provide different things. There's some ad formats that we don't offer that platforms do offer. And this combination of blockchain plus MCPs and LLMs provides something very, very compelling in the market that really takes off the rate limit that we've had to date with scaling ad spend, scaling fees, scaling revenue, increasing what is able for our validators to earn across the exchange, and fees that can be distributed across the liquidity pool. I don't know if there's anything you want to add there, Chandru.
True. I think there
Shout.
People are hearing the bikes go by.
Yes, not a racetrack, honestly.
I think when we started exploring MCPs, that was a penny drop moment for a lot of us, where we were like, okay, we've got the puzzle is coming together now, because when we started talking about our initial white paper and the ad exchange on chain, that was that now at that point in time, that was the big puzzle for us. Now, as we look at the ad ecosystem, and I know we've spoken about this before as well, where our aim is not just to address a couple of problems, but try and address the problems that the ad ecosystem is facing.
Yeah.
It has only become more obvious to us that the ad exchange is a part of the puzzle, and that we realized a year ago when we then started talking about the DSA and how we can actually use the DSA to address certain other problems that are being faced by all the demand side partners, the media agencies, and the brands. Now, when we look at slightly a larger picture, we realize that there are other platforms that people are buying in, which they probably, for their own reasons, don't want to move away from. But how can we onboard those partners? How can we leverage the relationships that they have with other media buying partners that they have, other DSPs that they are integrated with, and how can we bring that all under one roof and ensure that the problems they are facing on other media buying platforms are actually resolved using the concepts of AI that we are currently working with? How can we take that beyond just the DSA? How can we provide a layer of convenience, a singular layer of login, reporting, visualization, and all the wonderful things that we are offering as part of the DSA, so as to leverage Alkimi across the platform? The way I visualize this is Amazon. Amazon, for if you want to buy anything, let's say you want to buy a water bottle, you would go and look at Amazon for a water bottle, and then what Amazon does is it gives you a set of listings, but then when you click on one of them, it gives you, okay, here's the water bottle that you selected, here's how much it costs you, and then as you scroll through, you have a comparison table as to what other water bottles are available for you to buy, provided by other buyers, other sellers.
Yeah.
And what are the features of each of those water bottles? How are they priced? Which is how I would view this whole Alkimi buying platform as, where the DSA becomes the Amazon seller, or the Alkimi buying platform, or the Alkimi DSA, and then there are other comparisons. So people are able to see what are the advantages that Alkimi actually offers against the other platforms that they're working with. What are the advantages of each, and how can they then split their media spend across platforms? How can they use the layer of convenience that is being provided by the Alkimi buying platform while they're still buying across various platforms? And that, I think, is something that will remove the inertia that comes along with the media buying or the ad tech industry currently.
Yeah, I was thinking about this. In a previous life, I worked at other ad tech companies, and the sense I used to get from people that I was pitching to was often that this is another effing login. And I like to think that what we're building now will be the last effing login, because you won't need to leave the platform to do all of the media buying that you want to do, which I think, given the time that's wasted in the duplication of campaign setup and creation, is a really impressive way for people to go back to my earlier point, spend more time doing what human beings are doing, which is selling more, which is spending more time with their clients, which is providing better reporting, like giving the insights that human beings can provide, as opposed to what you will see with LLMs.
Absolutely, and I think it goes beyond just selling as well. Like, for example, when we were in Bangalore, and come back to that, is when we started the week with the team, there were certain apprehensions, and as to how these tools will replace humans, how they are bad for humanity, and things of that ilk. But then, as the week progressed, the kind of feedback that we got was completely path-breaking. I probably have learned quite a lot from that week, where people came up to me and said, I've never written a line of code in my life, people from non-technical teams, and I said, here's how the tools that you provided me with have actually changed my life. Here's how I can see a difference in my productivity within a week. Here's how, and technical folks as well, the way we ran vulnerability scans, the way we ran bug reports, the way we created test plans, the way DevOps visualizations and infrastructure visualizations were arrived at, all within the span of a week, was just path-breaking.
Yeah.
The kind of improvements that we have seen across the board, where we did a live session of vulnerability scanning when we were in Bangalore, and certain critical defects were discovered in some of the products that we were working on, and those actually saved about 90% of the time that we would have spent in detecting, monitoring, managing those issues, running those meetings, all the way to closure. And that, I think, is path-breaking, where people can actually use that time in building more products, in discussing ideas, in validating ideas, in making sure that we add more value to ourselves as individuals, to the organization, and to the ad ecosystem as a whole. So it is path-breaking overall.
Yeah, I think Alex Harper sent a comment or a message that was the Amazon of advertising, and I would actually like to say that we are the Alkimi of advertising. I've become a dad, and the jokes have got worse. It's shocking, isn't it? And I think the last thing we've spoken a lot about the buy side and automating for the buy side. I think the important thing that happens as the more buyers start buying across more platforms is that we're able to reconcile more of the ad spend across various publishers. So there's a better, more granular view of all of the ad spend that took place across all of the media buying that happens, where it was happening, which publishers were involved in that. So the reconciliation layer that we've created does become more compelling, does provide better insights. Those insights can then be interpreted by an LLM, and then coupled with what the individuals know about those publishers, how they performed, which ad units are working for them, just becomes there's a higher resolution of the data that people are able to see as more buying takes place across various platforms.
Yeah. Payment reconciliation or financial reconciliation has been a bane of the ad tech industry, the ad ecosystem, for a long time, with publishers being paid late. There's always some sort of an issue with, oh, I think I should pay so much. No, I think you should pay so much, kind of debates that have plagued the ad industry. So it is very, very important for us to arrive at a single source of truth and a reconciliation which has a certain degree of assurance, which has a certain degree of availability and auditability, so that we can all agree on what is the number of ad impressions that have been delivered, the amount that needs to be paid by the media agency and the publisher, all of which is a problem that needs addressing now.
Yeah.
And that is something that we are working towards in using the AI models that we created, in using the Alkimi buying platform to ensure that we are able to address all of those problems.
And I think that just to summarize all of the above, really, what I hope is coming across is that we are students of technology. It's changing at a significant rate, both in terms of advancements in traditional ad tech, advancements in blockchains, advancements in AI and automation. And we are striving to decipher those, translate those into products that fit the market. We're always taking feedback from customers, from publishers, to create products that solve problems for them. I think often people talk about the features of particular networks, but really what this is about is solving the problems that people have. And if they want to lean into how that's solved via blockchain, we will dial that up. But if they don't, we won't. And the same is true for ad tech and how we solve that with 100% share of screen. And then the same is true for automation and how we solve that with various LLMs and automation workflows we can put together. But equally, if they don't care and they just want to know how they can get more customers, we talk about that instead. And I think part of that study has been in our review of various layer ones that will really facilitate a product that fits the market as we view it should. We've been doing a lot of testing of various layer ones to find the best solution that will facilitate that today and will improve to facilitate where we plan to take Alkimi in the future. Those tests have been rigorous. They have provided some very interesting results. We are in the final stages of negotiating with a layer one. As soon as that is finalized, we will make that information public. But really, the layer one that we decide on will facilitate everything that we've spoken about. And really what we're talking about, if you kind of boil it down, is capturing more market share, increasing the ad spend across the exchange, and ultimately delivering more fee revenue to holders of the token.
Absolutely. Just to flip that and to show what is happening behind the scenes, there are several key challenges in choosing a layer one, and adtech is a very unique industry in the kind of challenges that it poses, and we need to have a layer one integration that allows us to resolve all of these challenges. For example, the first challenge that we have is scale. The number of ad transactions and ad impressions is humongous. Currently we are delivering about 25 million ad impressions every day, but that is only set to increase. So scale becomes one of the key deciding factors in selecting an LLM. The second is cost effectiveness, because each ad impression is of a minute value. Let's say we are considering a CPM of $5, then each ad impression is worth half a cent. And Alkimi makes a small percentage of that. So the amount of money that Alkimi makes based on each ad impression that is delivered is quite small. And it is a game of scale where you actually deliver multiple millions of transactions, multiple millions of ad impressions in order to make that small amount scale up. So the second challenge is the minute value associated with each ad impression. The third is there is a need for assurance, on the buy side, on the sell side. The publishers, the media agencies, the brands, they all need assurance that the products are functioning like they should. And that is clearly lacking in today's ad industry. So a need for assurance is problem number three. The fourth is there needs to be an efficient supply chain, which currently we don't have. There are a lot of walled gardens which needs to be broken, which provide the transparency and the auditability, thereby holding every person, every party in the supply chain accountable, and hence making sure that the supply chain costs are reduced. So each of this is a unique problem in itself. And when we go about selecting a layer one, we are ensuring that we are able to not just resolve the problems of today, but also be able to select a layer one that is able to provide us the scale 6 months, 12 months, 5 years, 10 years down the line. And that is what we're working towards. And we are, as Ben was saying, in the final stages of finalizing the layer one partner. And we will be revealing this as soon as we've got everything finalized.
Exactly right. I think that's most of the updates that we wanted to cover. Now there are some questions that we have collected. One of which is around KYCs. So we have changed providers. I hope some of you have seen that this is a much better user experience than we've had in the past. So yeah, we listened that our current provider, our previous provider, I should say, wasn't that timely, and this process is much better. We'd encourage you all to KYC again. That would be very useful. Hopefully, it's a much easier process for us to cover, for you to complete. I don't know if there's anything you want to add on that, Chandru.
Well, KYC has been one of the key areas of concern. A lot of people have had issues with completing their KYC. There had been with our previous KYC provider quite a large number of requests that had to go into manual review that would then go on to their backlog. They would then review, reject, approve, which took quite a significant amount of time, thereby causing frustrations. But now what we've done is integrated with OnFido, and OnFido is we went through a rigorous process of selecting multiple KYC, looking at multiple KYC providers, and then selecting the best one among them. And we're really happy with the kind of service that we are getting with OnFido. But I'd really love for all of you to re-KYC on Alkimi Labs. I did it personally the day it was released on the production environment, and it took me about 90 seconds. I did have a pretty good user journey, but I'm keen to understand what the others are going through, and please provide us with your feedback. I'd love to hear what you say. That's yeah, and hopefully this should resolve the frustrations that we had with the previous KYC provider. It should resolve any the onboarding process of new users as well. So hopefully it's the step in the right direction.
I'm just going to go back to one of these questions that has popped up around the layer one, which is, are you saying your current setup tech is not capable of scaling, as we have been told? That the short answer is no. I think that there are plans and products that we have that benefit from the increased decentralization that is offered by established layer ones, that allows us to focus on the application layer, like generating more gross ad spend, fee revenue, and tools that make capturing that easier. That really is kind of what we were looking for. It's something that can facilitate the future plans, which isn't wholly limited to the scale. In fact, the criteria was that it had to match the scale that we had and then facilitate what we have planned for services and products that we can offer that allow for increased generation of fees.
Yeah, just to add to that, when I say scale is one of the key challenges, what I mean is if we are to notarize, let's say as on today, 10 million transactions, 25, 30 million ad impressions on a layer one, we need to be able to roll up, or we need to be able to post that many transactions onto a layer one in a cost efficient manner.
Yeah.
It is not just, oh yeah, you can post all of these transactions onto a layer one. It is, am I able to do so in a cost effective manner without going bankrupt? Right? And which is why I was talking about the financial value associated with each ad impression.
Yeah.
When we have such small amount of financial value associated with each ad impression, the efficiency of the roll-up, the gas fees associated with posting these transactions on a layer one is very, very important. And scale in that regard is a tricky topic. Yeah. We need to ensure that we have a layer one which not only provides the ability to post transactions rolled up on the layer one, but also in a very, very cost-effective manner.
Exactly. I think one of the issues that we've been facing is that although exchange revenue has been flat, it still is high in comparison to other chains that you would see. And we have suffered from that not being available on various tools that surface protocol fee revenue to the wider crypto audiences. I think that in finding a solution that allows for that to take place and can be recorded and captured by those sites that measure on-chain revenue, we hope will allow us to access a new audience that perhaps we weren't accessing at the moment in not having those data points posted on the various websites that support that.
Absolutely, it's not just about the technical requirements. It goes far beyond that.
Yeah. The next question is around the implementation. After the decision is made, it will be soon. So yeah, and then once we have made this public, we will answer all of the questions that I'm sure you all have on layer one. So I don't want to go into that too much just now, but you will hear from us in due course. So I was reading the board with the questions on them. So yeah, the next, I think we should address the revenue issue and what we've been trying to do to increase that. So we have, for the first half of this year, been working with a very large media agency. We had what you would, I guess, refer to as a test deal with that particular media agency. We have since graduated to a fully fledged deal, which is good in time for Q4. So contrary to what I was saying, Q4 is still a big quarter for ad spend. Because everyone's not using Alkimi yet, then every quarter will be a big quarter for ad spend. But that has been brilliant. That has allowed for conversations that we've been having with the brands that agency represents to accelerate. It's removed some of the blockers that we've had historically, even for the first half of this year when we had the test deal. It was very clear that was a test deal. So yeah, it's been brilliant that they've recognized the value in transparency and low fees, and have particularly seen great results in using 100% share of screen as a way to really access sponsorship type deals for a more cost-effective CPM and able to purchase those at scale. That has been very compelling for that particular media agency and the brands they represent. We've also been having some interesting conversations with partners on the supply side. We have taken on a new advisor, a chap called Stefano Kim, who has a lot of experience in ad tech. He has opened up a lot of doors to large CTV providers that hadn't listened to us in the past. We are working on integrating with Tubi. We will kind of make that official as and when that integration is completed. We've had a handful of test campaigns run across their CTV inventory. They are big in Europe, but even larger in the US. So we want to make sure we do a brilliant job for their monetization across Europe, with a hope that that might lead to bigger and better things in America, where the budgets are bigger, to be very frank. Yes. We have also had some salespeople leave the team. We've now replaced those with new salespeople that, in particular, we've had one that came from Netflix. She's brilliant. She's due to start in a couple of months' time, a couple of weeks' time, I should say, to really help us capitalize on CTV demand. CTV is very interesting, I think, as far as a channel that will certainly be AI proof to some degree, given the scraping that's going on in LLMs. CTV is one of those platforms. The CPMs are considerably higher. You're talking double-digit CPMs for CTV as opposed to low single digits for display, and mid-level CPMs for online video. So again, given we charge a flat percentage, that is obviously a larger absolute number on a higher CPM. So we're excited about what that might mean for future protocol fee revenue. And we've also been, I mentioned this earlier, but expanding the blockchain site list. So some of the publishers have been some crypto sites that you will know. Again, for blockchain brands, being able to aggregate those in a way that's easy for them to buy at scale has been and is proving successful for them. So yeah, that site list, or that list of sites, I should say, continues to grow. We've been, after what was quite a meteoric rise in the number of sites that we were onboarding to the network, we've now been looking to build out a premium audience. So being considered and kind of identifying key targets and really trying to onboard those to the network to provide valuable audiences to our buyers, and to some degree publications that we believe will be AI proof. As scraping continues, the long to mid tail of the internet, I think, unfortunately, will suffer to some degree. But publications that have large recognizable brand names that people go to for a reason, like if you're interested in finance, you're probably going to go to the Financial Times. If you're interested in watching certain TV programs, they exist in CTV platforms. Really kind of the best in breed in each vertical is what we're looking to add to the network, rather than kind of anyone that we can get our hands on approach, which has worked well so far to build out that underlying scale. But now it's kind of about adding cherries to the top of the cake that we are creating as far as the supply is concerned. And I think we will end today's session. We know it's been a little while. We hope that you found this really useful. And I think, as ever, we would like to thank you all for your support. We can see you in Telegram and Discord and Twitter every day. The CMs we have done a brilliant job. So yeah, thank you for tuning in. I hope you all found this useful and insightful, and kind of a look into how we're thinking about the second half of the year, how we view the market, and the way in which we can create products that fit that market to continue, to grow the ad spend that we're seeing across the exchange.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for all your love and support. And yeah, we'll be back with more updates. And yeah, please stay tuned.
Thank you very much, everyone. Speak to you soon.
See you.